so what I decided to do for this week's What Sold video is to just give you the highlights of everything that happened in the month of June. If you guys remember, there was a couple weeks in June where I was not very active with reselling at all. One week completely didn't do anything, and the next week was just trying to catch up and get myself situated again. So sales were pretty low, so I thought let's just cover the whole month and we'll, just hit the highlights. So it's not necessarily just my highest price sales, but just, maybe a few things that are a little more interesting or fun stuff that I just wanted to share with you. And this accomplishes two things. It helps me get caught up, and then it also helps you guys from getting too bored with like a What Sold video that has like 3 things. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start with Poshmark. For the month of June, I decided to share some numbers here with you. As you can see, Posh is not, at this point in my life, Posh is not like crazy making us tons of money. But again, so as you can see, the month, I stay pretty steady, right? So June was not a bad month. Let's see what we've got here. $654 is what I made in June. And again, I want to emphasize, you guys have heard me say this before. If you're new, then you haven't. But again, I have to give credit to Prime Lister for my Poshmark sales. As I had mentioned earlier, my sales were not so great overall for the whole month. There were weeks, even days on eBay, several days in a row with no sales. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was unavailable for a whole week. And then the week after, I was just kind of playing catch up and everything like that. And so I was not hitting my reselling business crazy hard in June. And so what was nice about the sales I did get in Poshmark is that they were happening with no effort on my part at all, really. And that's again because of Prime Lister. So if you guys didn't know, Prime Lister is it does lots of different things, but as far as Poshmark automation tools, it's cloud-based, so it's a set it and forget it kind of thing. So I had all my sharing, my offers, all those settings set up ahead of time. And so I was busy not working for a whole week, but those things were still happening as I was busy doing other things. And so sales kind of kept slowly staying steady through the month. So the month wasn't much different than any of my other months. So again, the best thing you can do is to keep adding new items, and then you'll, stay consistent with that. And then Prime Lister can do the rest. So I do have a video, if you're new, I have a video that explains how to set it up, how to use it, all that kind of stuff. I'll put that link to that video in the description. And then also have a link to try it out if you want to. You can try it for 7 days for free. And then using my link, you'd be able to get 30% off your first month. So, but let's look at the sales. Again, I didn't show you all the sales to keep this video kind of within a normal length of time. But here's some highlights for that month. Again, sandals. This was another one of those pairs that I tried to get listed during that time when I was like, oh no, list the summer shoes. And I actually picked these up fairly recently. The brand is Echo. I'm trying to remember where I picked these up, but I don't think I paid a ton. I think it was Goodwill, because they put little codes on the bottom of their shoes that I don't usually remove unless it's a price. But anyway, $30, those sold within a week or so, I would say. Eddie Bauer, this was a men's jacket or blazer. It's one of the lines of Eddie Bauer that sometimes, if the price is right, we'll pick it up. Let me find the label. It's called Travex, so it's a travel material that doesn't wrinkle, kind of like a nylon feel to it. That sold for $35. The next two sold to the same person in a bundle, and I think it was like $70-something. He offered me $72, and I was happy to take that. Holderness and Bourne is the company, and if you price these right, the sell-through is so good on these. I did pay up. I had found a bunch. They were priced a little high, but I think I figured out I averaged about $8 a polo, $8 a shirt, and I ended up with 4 of them.
And so, you know, I ended up getting what, $36 each before Poshmark pulled out its little percentage. So not too bad. I had found 2 of these at the thrift store for $2 each. Bath and Body Works Aromatherapy Body Wash sold for $49. It's discontinued. That's where it is. And they were both sealed, which makes me so happy. So much easier to list things like that. And then this little sweater, I have the back showing first. It's Brooks Brothers. I had only picked it up because it was merino wool. And it took a while to sell. I had this listed probably a year or two. You know, it's not a brand I would pick up super often, but I just thought it was stinking cute. It buttons down the back and everything, but finally sold for $35 when I was least expecting it. Some hair rollers. It was just 4 rollers, but they're these special Paul Mitchell NeuroCell type things. Those sold for $30. And my LL Bean boat and tote sold on Poshmark for $67. So here's the label. You do want to kind of be on the lookout for these. There are colorways, and this is kind of a vintage but newer label. There's an older label that does even better, and some of those boat and totes will sell for hundreds of dollars. And the color makes a big difference, things like that. Now this looks like it had never been used, and it was really big. It was like an 18-inch across one. They come in different sizes as well. But this is my initials from before I got married. So SMC. I know this is probably, the initial is actually SCM, but across the Goodwill store, my old initials just like beamed out at me. And I was like, what is that? Those are my initials. And then I realized it was a boat and tote, and I was super excited. And they had only priced it at like $6.99. Okay, and then $50 for a necktie on Poshmark by Polo Ralph Lauren. Now this was kind of an unusual one. As you can see, the print was just this tiny little scene on the tie. It was vintage, but it had the Polo by Ralph Lauren. It was polyester, I think. Yeah. But anyway, nothing super exciting about it, but still unusual. And I think that's what a lot of the Polo by Ralph Lauren people are looking for. So that was it for my Poshmark sales. Let's go on to a couple other platforms as well. And we're going to start with this stovetop espresso maker. I found this at Goodwill, and it looked like it hadn't been used. I paid like $6.99. As you can see, all the parts. Sorry, I was running up and down the stairs before I started this, and it was in its original box. So we ended up selling that one for $73.99, the full asking price. The next couple sales went to the same buyer, and I think I told you about these, or I showed you in one of my yard sale videos. And I had gotten this box of Creative Memories at a sale that was full of a lot of collectibles, but with eBay printouts and things like that, and they were really high priced. And then as I was leaving, I saw this box of Creative Memories for $5, the scrapbooking supplies. And I already had some listings, and so I texted or called Mr. Pish Posh after I bought the box, and I said, oh, take down those listings, we'll reconfigure them together and put the correct sizes together and everything like that. So we did that. And I ended up selling this lot of 8.5 by 11 with an album and such. The person had messaged to see if I could combine shipping. So we got that all figured out, and they bought these 12 by 15 as well. And so as you can see, the prices were $54 and $59 for the 2 lots put together. Well, separately, whatever that is together. Okay, this I just wanted to share with you. Sold for $26.09. It was just a new to me pottery company, or pottery a woman. I'll show you the mark. It just says Hogben, Hogben, And I just thought it was super cute with the bumblebee and then a ladybug on the handle. And this was at Goodwill as well. Could have been the same day, but it was just out of place. Like somebody had picked it up in the coffee mugs and then had brought it over to like set it down. Like they changed their mind. I just thought it was interesting enough. So I think I checked comps real quick at the store, and there wasn't one exactly like this, but it gave me enough hope that it would be worth it. And so I love selling a mug for over $25, so that worked for me. Next up is, okay, so this was a finished cross stitch. I had bought some Dimensions Gold cross stitch kits. I was with my son and we ran into a thrift store and ended up I saw these kits right away and I was like, oh my goodness. So I've already sold those other ones. I went to go list this one and I realized it was open and they had already finished the cross stitch. So I ended up selling just the finished canvas for $53.09. So sometimes like finished stuff can do well too. Saves people the work and they can just get it framed if they like the design and everything. And I think the buyer said it was like a gift for her dad or something like that. What else did I share? Okay, so I also chose to share with you these wood carving tools sold for $44.09. These again were in a bag at Goodwill hanging on the wall. We've done well in the past with various tools like leather working tools, things like that. It was nice that these had the name of the company very clearly. I could see through the bag so I could research them. Just kind of made up a price because I had 4 specific tools. You know, there wasn't exactly the same combination available in comps. So I just threw a price on there. I think I started, like it says, $48.99. And during one of the sales I was running, it sold. Then this was kind of a fun sale. Again, yard sale find. This sold for $44.99. I'm sure a lot of the value was the fact that even if it was just kind of like a drugstore or dime store display, having that original display like made it a little more valuable. The brand was Gem, Gem, and had some extra razors and such. So that sold for $45. This was a fun sale. All my sales for June were stuff that came from Goodwill. But I happened across this metal paper towel holder. I just thought was fun. There was a couple days there at Goodwill where I kept running into like red kitchen stuff, vintage red kitchen stuff. So I think somebody cleaned out a collection or something like that. But it's just fun. The brand was Acme, ACME, and the little sides, you could put it under a cabinet, you could put it on a wall, you could put it inside a cabinet, all that kind of fun stuff. But it did sell for $27.99. Then I thought I'd share a flatware sale with you. We've got salad forks sold for $28.99. These are just Cambridge, but as you can see, pretty hefty and had a really cool design. Again, I think this came from Goodwill in a bag. Then, I think I just wanted to share this with you. This was Rörstrand, Sweden. Now, this is something I've had for quite a while, but I think it had gotten delisted or it just kind of fell off the radar. And I found the listing, found the item, and was like, oh, let's get that going again. So I listed it again. That actually does say Rörstrand, and it's a Swedish company. The creamer actually sold for $26, and she was happy she had sent me that offer and then just, asked if she was just happy to add it to her set. She was trying to add to it piece by piece. I had another piece in the past. I forgot what it was. A mug or I don't know. But that had already sold quite a while ago. Next up is a pair of Crocs. Now this is fun, $29.99. One day I realized, okay, we have a shoe backlog. We have many different kinds of backlogs of our inventory, but all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I think Mr. Pishposh had pulled out some shoes, and I was like, I gotta get the summer ones because we're running out of summer. I don't want to be a negative person, but it's true. As far as the season for people buying, it's slowing. The summer stuff will slow down. Obviously, stuff will sell year round, but the peak for a summer attire is pretty much winding down. I've noticed a lot of people online, other resellers are already selling flannels and sweaters and things like that. Okay, so these Crocs, I love a fun Croc, something that looks a little bit different. Those sold maybe within a day of me getting them listed. Then this was fun just in the fact that it's called an e-runner, day runner. It's just a canvas little day runner, and it was designed with pockets for your electronics. So look at that old phone. There's room for your Palm Pilot in there if you wanted. But it was new with tags, and it sold for $30.99. And the feedback I got on that was that they were so happy they found the same exact organizer that they bought 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was. They just got a kick out of that. So I thought that was funny too. Now, this was an item that I picked up at that sale with the mice, if you guys remember. And this did get washed out. It wasn't anywhere near the mice, but still. It's a Waterford Crystal cognac brandy balloon. It had a partial sticker, a partial maker sticker, the Waterford sticker, but then it had a full-on barcode sticker on the bottom. So that gave me the pattern and what the piece exactly was, and that sold for the full $39.99. I paid a couple dollars at the yard sale. Here's another pair of sandals that sold that actually I found them and listed them pretty quickly because the last pair of Fit Flop I had listed, they sat around here forever. I finally listed them and they sold within a day or two. So I saw these at Goodwill and I was like, ooh, Fit Flop. They were in really good shape, listed them, sold them as well within a couple days for $30.79. This was such a fun skirt, and I was surprised it took so long. I'm sure my price was too high to start with. I kept dropping it, but the pattern or the brand, it's just a vintage brand. It's called the Vestigentress. As you can see, it was a hand-screened print from Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And so I tried to just do a split screen just to show the pattern that it had these tropical birds like the toucans and they were wearing hats. And I'm like, how fun is this? So anyway, it finally sold for $65.99. So really not that bad. I was closer up higher when I began because you never know. You don't know unless you try, right? Now, again, this is not our top sale. It's just one of those sales that makes me happy. And this is something that's very personal. If this does not fit into your business model, then no worries. Don't do it. But I was at a yard sale and I found this pack of Fruit of the Loom men's handkerchiefs for 25 cents. So there was a bin of like loose bandanas and handkerchiefs, 25 cents a piece. And this package of 4 was actually in there too. And that's what she charged me, was the 25 cents. And I listed them for $18.99, and I think I sent an offer 12% off and sold it for $16.71. Now, like, that's not a huge, like, amount, right? I'm not going to pay a bunch of bills. I could get a couple cups of coffee or something like that with it, right? But it just cracks me up because it's something that other people just don't see value in. But there are people out there that want things like this. So anyway, it just tickles me to have these little sales. If you don't want to waste your time on them, that's totally up to you, like I said. But, you know, who knows? That could have ended up in the landfill. And now it didn't. So there you go. All right. Okay, so these are the same flatware pattern. Sold for a little bit more. They were the dinner forks, sold for $39.59. And last on eBay was my Jellycat, my Yanni Yeti Jellycat, Abominable Snowman. It was a retired one. So as you guys probably know, if you're into reselling, that's Jellycat plush can do pretty well. And I again started this one off pretty high, but I wasn't getting any takers, and it really wasn't in the best condition. It had some areas that were matted and stuff like that. So I started high, lowered, sent offers, did things like that, and this actually did sell for $65. So I was totally good with that, $3 or something at Goodwill, and turned it into, probably if I had started off lower, I would have turned it a lot faster, but a couple months probably is all it took to sell. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much about Ruby Lane. This was the best sale I had on there in the month of June. It was just this Oneida Community stainless. There were some dinner forks and teaspoons, very vintage. They sold for $41. The rest of the sales, which were like 4 or 5 other sales the whole month, were like $10 or less. It was interesting. It was all these little like odds and ends that actually I was glad they sold and moved on, and I'm not spending the time getting my son to have to move them anywhere, or I would have just pulled them and donated them or something like that anyway. So it saved us some time, but there really was nothing noteworthy to talk about there. So let's just switch over and talk about Etsy instead. I'm giving you some of the highlights of the patterns that sold. Again, not all the patterns, because I actually was fairly steady on June with the patterns, like pretty much my normal rate of how my patterns sell. So $15, I just wanted to share this Raggedy Ann and Andy. This is one of the doll type patterns I will pick up in whatever form it comes in. It's just a bread and butter. It's like a perennial favorite for people who are buying sewing patterns. Vogue. What's this one? Okay, this one, $31 for Victor Costa evening gown. That was kind of fun. And then $16 for another Vogue. This one was Jeffrey Bean, 1990s as well. $31 for this vacuum cleaner cover. This always cracks me up because I'm like, first of all, you have to have an upright vacuum still. And I guess they still make them. They're more like sticks now, though. So, but also, this could kind of scare you in the middle of the night, is what I'm thinking. If I came across a person standing in the corner of the room, but still, I know this pattern is one that people look for, and it sells well, so I sold it. Now, I just wanted to point out also the $31. I don't normally do prices like this, but I just wanted to share. Another seller, Etsy seller, eBay seller, had told me her little tip was that every day or every couple days, she would go into her eBay listings or her Etsy listings, and she would raise all her prices like $1 or $2. And then the next day or the next couple days, she would go back in and drop them $1 or $2. And just kind of plays around going up and down. And she said her sales like have increased like crazy because I guess it has to do with I don't know the correct terminology for it, but it's just putting activity on some of your listings, and it's keeping your listings from getting too stale, right? So I understand the concept behind it, and I could see it, I could see the benefit of it. So I played around with it for a little bit. I wasn't doing it daily, but obviously in my pattern shop, I did it once and then I forgot to drop them again. And I've been selling like $13 patterns, $31, like these odd numbers I don't normally use. And so I'm like, you know what? You can squeeze another probably $1 or $2 out of certain things. It was a lesson to me. Anyway, it didn't, I don't know. I have these weird things. I'm either doing an even number, like 30 or 20 or whatever. I like 12. I don't do 13 or 11. I do 12. I don't know. I have these weird, but I like 15. 14's okay. There should be some kind of analysis into this pricing strategy anyway. And then on eBay, I do 99 cents, like $4.99. No, I never do anything that low, but $19.99, $24.99. I don't do that on Etsy. Anyway, I don't know why. This is just how I've always done it, and you get into habits, right? Okay, here's another one that sold for $31. This was a Han Crafts Baby Bear Heart Plush Sewing Kit. Got good feedback. It was just what she was looking for. It had all the pieces to make this little teddy bear. And I remember getting this at the bins, our old location for our bins. And so it took, half a year, a little over, to sell. This is a simplicity pattern with Jessica McClintock. So as you guys probably know, Jessica McClintock does the gunny sacks. So the gunny sacks patterns will sell really well. Those are more like 70s and 80s. These are newer. This one's like a Y2K Jessica McClintock, but I figured Y2K is popular as well. And so that sold for $16, but that's why I picked it up. And then DKNY, found another one in my stash. 90s DKNY patterns are like gold. But anyway, that one sold for $23. This Butterick, kind of a basic, $18, good price for a Butterick dress pattern. To me it is anyway. And I think it was just basically I went by the fact that it's kind of a style that I can sell repeatedly, no matter what the brand of the pattern. Just high-waisted, kind of a modest dress, comfortable, that kind of thing. It was a size 14, 16, 18, so pretty good sizing. And I think there weren't any available on Etsy, which is why I pushed it a little higher than I normally would. Then I think this is the last pattern I'm going to share, $21 for this costume pattern. Again, 21, so it must have been part of the bump. And anyway, costume. I had a couple sizes, so it looks like I still have another size available. So then over in the Pish Posh Vintage shop, we've got this. This is an item I moved over from Ruby Lane over to Etsy and eBay, but it sold on Etsy for $29. It's a scarf or a belt holder. It's painted pink, so it could be for scarves, it could be for belts, it could be for a guy, it could be for a woman, whatever. But just, I thought the pink was unusual, and I did find other ones painted that way, so it wasn't like something somebody had done. Okay, and next up was this blue Westclox Baby Ben. So we do love, not just the wood grain vintage clocks, but any little alarm clock like this. If it seems like it's in good condition, I pick it up. I always test whether I can wind it, if it doesn't feel locked or something, and if I can move the dials in the back. I kind of just do. I don't know much more than that, but I usually try to check it over before I bring it home to Mr. Pish Posh, and he listed this. It sold for $34. Then I just wanted to share the fact I'm selling the random utensils here and there. $13 for this Bonnie USA, probably from the 80s, like a pasta spaghetti serving utensil. And then here's the other Libby Celestial mug that I shared last week. I shared the one that sold on eBay, and this one sold on Etsy for $54. And then this was a fun, again, it sold pretty quickly. We have sold these before. The maker is Max Klein, or the designer. It's just a plastic desk organizer, and I don't know, a few years back, we would find them fairly often, different colors, avocado green, yellow, and we'd list them, they'd sell, right? So not huge money, $25, but we hadn't found one in a while, and we went on a little road trip out of town to do something, I forgot what, and stopped at a thrift store. I saw it. I said, Mr. Pish Posh, you want to do one of these again? And he's like, sure, why not? Because it was $1. And I think we could even use one of our old listings, just kind of copy or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what he did. He probably started fresh. And it sold for $25, probably within a week or so after being listed. And then I just sold these plain stainless salad servers, stainless Japan. It's just the look, there's no big name on them or brand or anything like that. Those sold for $22. Okay, so that wraps me up. Those are the highlights for the month of June. We are actually doing pretty well in July. I'm getting excited. We've been cross-posting a lot of things from Ruby Lane. We've been adding new things that I've been finding at the bins and yard sales. And stuff that surprises me is moving pretty well. So like I said, it'll probably be time to start focusing on some of the fall type clothing, shoes, things like that, and just keep going with the stuff that we've been listing. And I just need to know from you guys how this was my whole month of June, but if you want to talk about anything more recent, good sales, have things picked up for you. I know a lot of us were going through kind of a slow period in June, but did it pick back up again? Let me know in the comments down below anything fun that you found lately, and I will talk to you soon.